go. Good afternoon. This is Department of Procurement Services Workshop, doing business with the City of Chicago. Is everybody here for that?
How to become certified.
I'm sorry, you're right. How to become certified. We do 2 workshops today. How to become certified and doing business with the City of Chicago is right after this one. So if you're not registered for that one, you are welcome to stay for that one. I'm Victoria Wright. I'm the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for Department of Procurement. And as you came in, you should have signed in and taken the handouts. We have our help text for the Schedule A application and the document checklist. I did not put the Schedule A application out anymore because Francisco is going to explain that the application now has to be done online. So we're not even taking any hard copy applications. So we're not passing out the hard copy applications anymore. But the help text and the document checklist is also information that you'll need, and Francisco will go over the Schedule A in more detail. We have a construction summit coming up next Thursday. If anybody's in the construction business or construction-related business, I do recommend that you attend that event. It'll be a UIC forum next Thursday from 9 to 1. And the City of Chicago, our sister agencies, will be giving out information about all the construction jobs that'll be coming out in 2016. So this gives companies a chance to prepare, talk to the different agencies, find out how much the contracts are worth. Will they be hiring MBE, WBEs on the job? So it'll be a good place to pick up information if it's anything that you might do in construction, okay? We have our 2016 workshop schedule, so you can see everything that's coming out for our workshops this year. The evaluation, which I will collect at the end. So at 3 o'clock, I'll be in the room to collect the evaluations. I do have to let you know that all DPS workshops are now being live streamed to YouTube. So the cameras are not on you. The cameras are only on the presenter. So we do have to ask that you hold your questions until the end. So you ask a question, Francisco will repeat it so that the people at home can hear your question. I will let you know, and people at home, that the workshop PowerPoints can be found on our website. So if there's anything that you didn't get while you were in class, you can get the PowerPoint on the City of Chicago Department of Procurement Services website. It's up under Events and Outreach. So we do have to go from 2 to 3 because it is being live streamed, and then the next one will start promptly at 3:15. So if there are any questions that are still unanswered, we will stay in the room to answer your questions, but we do have to end it if we are actually at 3 o'clock so that we can make sure that we stay on time for the next workshop. So myself, Francisco, and we do have another certification officer in the room, Ayenu. All 3 of us will be here to answer questions so that we can go into the next workshop on time. Did somebody have a question about the construction summit? I'm sorry, you're all right. I keep getting those mixed up because it's at South Shore Culture Center. Yeah, South Shore Culture Center, because we do so much at UIC Forum. But yes, you're right. You plan on attending? Good. So yeah, it's at South Shore Culture Center. We do have a vendor fair May 25th that will be at UIC Forum from 9 to 1. So the vendor fair is all of our contracts, not just construction, but this one is just the construction summit, and he's right, it'll be at South Shore Culture Center. I have too many dates in my head and too many events. So it says South Shore, yes.
And what's that date again? You said next Thursday?
February 4th. The flyer, you should have got the flyer, yeah. But it's at February 4th from 9 to 1 at South Shore Culture Center. So I'm going to turn it over to Francisco. He is a certification officer. He sees files, and he's going to take it over from here. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the workshop. As Victoria said, I am a certification officer with the City of Chicago, and I see applications every day. So hopefully this workshop will be helpful for you to make the process a lot easier. And also, hopefully, this workshop answers most of your questions. All right, so we'll get started. So this is the Department of Procurement. The City of Chicago has a couple of certification programs, minority and women-owned business enterprises, and then we also have a business enterprise for people with disabilities. These are governed by city regulation, but the City of Chicago also accepts applications for DBE, which is Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and ACDBE, which is Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. That is regulated by the Department of Transportation, but the City of Chicago is part of the Illinois collision of entities that help certify small businesses. Okay, so the department overview, who we are. The Department of Procurement Services contracting authority for procurement of goods and services for the City of Chicago. We work together as a team and with our customers to guarantee an open, fair, and timely process by establishing, communicating, and enforcing superior business practices. What we do. DPS is committed to providing information, resources, and tools to assist you in your efforts to compete for City of Chicago contracting opportunities. We accept new applications for certification. Once you are certified, we also require that you submit annual no change affidavits. And after your 5-year renewal period, you will have to resubmit a recertification application. So that is handled by us, the certification department within the Department of Procurement. Okay, we contract compliance with negotiated contractual MWDBE participation goals, okay? We set standards for contract participation for M&WBEs as well as DBE and ACDBE. We assist vendors through our website and which is www.cityofchicago.org/procurement and www.chicago.mwdbe.com. Okay, so pretty much what we're stating here is that we will be the department that you will most likely have to work with in order to get contracts with the city. There is other city departments that handle their own procurement. For instance, CPS, even though they're not they're City of Chicago, they have their own procurement department. Water Reclamation has their own procurement department. The CHA has their own procurement department. But we are the only body of the City of Chicago that actually deals with certification. So once you're certified with us, our certification is good to bid with any of our sister agencies that does their own procurement. But for all the others, you will have to bid through our office, okay? And again, we have 5 certification programs, which is the MBE, Minority-Owned Business Enterprise, WBE, Women-Owned Business Enterprise, BEPD, Businesses Owned by People with Disabilities, DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, ACDBE, Airport Concessions, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. The benefits of certification. It provides visibility. Once certified, your firm is listed in our directory, which is accessible to the general public. There are minority, women, and disadvantaged person goals on City of Chicago project, as well as projects offered by sister agencies in which a City of Chicago certification is recognized by these agencies and private firms. So what this means is the City of Chicago, we have, every contract that we have, we tend to have goals that need to be met for participation from minority-owned and women-owned companies. Depending on the funding sources, sometimes we will require it as well. We will also require DBE, disadvantaged, and ACDBE if it has to do with airport concessions. Okay? So again, the benefits of the certification is the City of Chicago has target market programs which provide exclusive bidding to certified minority and women-owned business enterprises. This allows certified businesses to take 100% of the pie because there are no subcontractor goals associated with the project. So what this is telling you is the City of Chicago sometimes tends to have a project that we believe it can be easily done by a smaller company, and we try to target it towards minority or women-owned companies. And then that way you guys can run the entire project. But now let's say, for instance, we have a bigger contract that requires a lot of moving parts, and we understand in order to be certified through us, you have to be considered a small business enterprise. Therefore, we don't consider you to have the capability of doing such a big project or job on your own. But what we do require is that these big prime firms hire small certified firms to a certain percentage. Most of the time, most of our contracts have these specifications from the beginning, and the prime firms always have to provide a compliance plan showing who and what anyone that is certified will be doing during the whole project. Okay, who qualifies for this? African American, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, women, persons with disability, and other individuals who can prove social and economic disadvantage. So if you do not fit one of these categories and you feel that you were disadvantaged at one point, you can fill out an affidavit of social and economic disadvantage, and that would go through a review board who will then decide whether in fact you were or were not disadvantaged. Therefore, you would qualify or not qualify for the program. Okay, do you qualify? Local businesses, you have to be a local business. So what a local business is defined as for the purpose of certification is a principal place of business and majority of full-time working force has to be located within the 6-county region. The 6-county region is defined as Cook, DuPage County, Kane County, Lake, McHenry, and Will County. So that's one of the requirements to apply for MBE, WBE, and BEPD. Now, when we're talking about DBE and ACDBE, because this is a federal program, you just have to be located in the state of Illinois, anywhere in the state of Illinois. Another requirement is 51% has to be owned, controlled, and managed by a minority, woman, person, or persons with a disability, or a social or economic disadvantaged individual that has gone through our process. Okay. You have to meet you have to meet size standard requirements. So you must not be an established business. Gross receipts must not exceed 37.3 million averaged over 3 years. This is for non-construction firm. Construction firms are subject to SBA size standards. The Small Business Administration comes out with size standards for what they consider to be a small business in every single aspect of construction. So those may be different. There's some of them that may be 15 million. So if you pass the 15 million gross receipts, you won't qualify for that code. So, and they all have different ones, so you may qualify for some and not for others, okay? DBE, you cannot exceed 22.4 or SBA size limit for the firm's primary line of business. Same thing. For DBE certification, if the size standard is lower than 22.4, you cannot exceed that. But if the size standard is more than 22.4, 22.4 is the max that you can reach regardless of what the SBA determines to be size limits. And for ACDBE, regardless of what your codes are, the amount is 52.47 million. Some exceptions do exist, but they're very few and far in between. Okay, the application process. Okay, so I'm sorry, I don't know if this was updated. Okay, so this says submit in hard copy or electronic application. we are no longer accepting hard copies. I apologize for not getting this corrected, but I'll make sure that it's corrected for the next presentation. All of the hard copy applications are being sent back, and we are not receiving them. So if you have any questions on how to file electronically, well, I'll answer some of the questions here, but if you need help navigating, the city we're working on ways to help people who aren't as tech savvy as others. So there is always going to be a way to get this done electronically, okay? You will have to submit your electronic application at chicago.mwdbe.com. So again, I'll repeat it, chicago.mwdbe.com. And you also have to submit a $250 fee in form of a money order or cashier's check. No fee for DBE, ACDBE, and BEPD. So the fee only applies for minority-owned business enterprise and women-owned business enterprise, okay? And the $250 fee is the only thing that you do have to either mail to the office here or drop it off, whatever's easiest for you. So whenever you're filling out the applications, it's very important that you upload into your electronic application all of the supporting documentation. This is very, 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 very important, okay? Amongst the information that we're going to need is going to be your contact information, type of certification that you are seeking. Okay, this is important. It may seem like, especially for the women in the audience, it may not seem like that important, but there has been times where a woman may check that they want to apply for women-owned, and even though they're a minority, if they don't check that they want to apply for minority-owned as well, we cannot process it. So it is very important that you guys check everything and anything that you guys are applying for. Okay, we're going to need ownership information. By ownership information, if you have an LLC, we're going to need your operating agreement. If you have a corporation, we're going to need your bylaws, your stock ledger. We're going to need information on how you paid for your business. We're going to need information of how many employees you have. What do they do? How much do they get paid? Facility information. Where do you conduct your day-to-day operations? I mean, and for facilities, this is a big misconception, and I want you guys to understand this. You can have a home office. That is acceptable as long as it's a standard industry practice. So for instance, if I am running a food manufacturing company and I say, well, I manufacture everything from home, that's usually not standard industry practice, right? So then it wouldn't apply. But if I have a trucking firm and I have one truck and I rent a parking spot for my truck in a yard, but my office is at home, that's where I conduct all my paperwork, that is acceptable. Okay, so those are just two examples. I'm sure there's plenty out there, more that I can talk about. Questions will be at the end, but I'll just repeat the whole facilities information. The facilities is depending on the industry. Home offices are allowed for certification purposes, but it depends on what you are doing and if it's normal industry practice. So the example that I gave is if you are a truck firm and you have one truck and you're the sole operator and you rent a parking spot at a lot for your truck, but all of your other business is conducted from home, that's completely acceptable and it's understandable. But there's other times where home offices are not acceptable, and you do need to show a facility other than your home. Now, financial information. This is a thing that scares a lot of people, but you got to know that we do follow security measures and your information is safe with us. But in order to be certified, you do have to provide personal and corporate financial information. That includes tax returns and for your business, financial statements, like profit and loss. We have, earnings, anything and everything you can provide us to better help us determine whether your firm is eligible or not, okay? Licenses for applicant and business. So for instance, if you are applying to be an electrical contractor, you do have to have an electrical license, okay? You have to have it through the city of Chicago. Otherwise, it will not, you will not be able to be approved. Now, another thing that's very, very important is you need to be able to prove that you know the industry, that you know the work that you're going into business for. This is very, very important. If you have to provide a detailed resume of what makes you eligible or have the how you earned your expertise to do the work that you're doing. So for instance, if you're going to be an electrical contractor and you could show us that you've been working for the electrical union for 30 years, that's a no-brainer, right? But if I'm going to go into an industry like auto mechanic and I can't prove to you that I've ever worked on cars, that would be an issue, and that's a cause for denial. So it's very important that you provide a solid resume. Any professional associations that you belong to, listing of equipment, shows all the equipment that you have that's going to help you perform your job. And again, this applies to some industries, not all. For instance, if I'm going to be a consultant, all I need is a laptop, right? If I'm going to be a management consultant, I need a laptop and everything else I have with me, right? I don't need to have any type of equipment for that kind of stuff. So contract information. Contract information is also a good way to prove that you have the experience to do what you want to do. Because this shows that you have already been doing this type of work and people have actually been paying you for it, okay? A lot of people don't have contracts because this may be a new company, and that's okay too. You can be a startup as long as you're legally set up with the state of Illinois. You can apply for certification. You don't need to be in business for a certain amount of time to apply for certification, okay? And in addition to contracts, you could provide invoices, purchase orders, anything that again proves that you've been doing this type of work before will help with this process. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the types of entities that are certifiable. So a lot of people are sole operators and they work as sole proprietors. What this means is that you use your own name, but your business does not really have any legal existence besides yourself. So I can tell you, hey, my name is Francisco Nunez. I do consulting, general administration consulting. Give me a call if you need help. And I could come help you, and I don't need to have a company. So that's perfectly okay for certification. A general partnership, if you and someone else goes into business together, without any formalities, maybe a partnership agreement, that's certifiable. It's not a problem. Limited partnership. Limited partnerships are more like stakeholders in the corporation. They're not liable for the debt of their own or beyond their own contribution. Assumed name certificates or certificates of limited liability partnerships. So this is already getting a little bit more, you do need to have a DBA, doing business as. It's getting more structured. Then you head to a corporation. A corporation is treated as an entity completely separate from its shareholders. It allows others to invest in the business without being liable for the debts of the business. So if you have a corporation, it is very important. It's very important that you are in good standings with the state of Illinois. If the state of Illinois shows that you are not in good standings, you will not be certified. Okay. If you are a corporation, we're going to need the articles of incorporation, certificate of incorporation, bylaws of the corporation, copies of all stocks issued. That also includes any canceled stock, any pretty much if you provide a stock ledger, that'll help us a lot. And you do have to also provide you with your annual minutes. Okay, so then you also have an LLC. If this is a partnership where you would have a managing member, or maybe all of you guys are partners. But if you have an LLC, you have to register with the state as well. So it's also, again, important that you provide us with, that you are in good standings with the state. If you have an operating agreement, send it to us. The articles of, they're not incorporation, the articles of organization, provide us with that stuff too. That'll help us. All right. So now, most industries that are certified go through the same process. There's a few exceptions to certain industries that we require a little bit more information. Okay. Supplier is one of them. Okay. Being a supplier must be a regular dealer, which is a firm that owns, operates, or maintains a store, warehouse, or other establishment in which materials, supplies, articles, or equipment are bought, kept in stock, and regularly sold or leased to the public in the usual course of business. Okay? Let's remember that definition. So now we're going to talk about a distributor. Firms operating as a distributor are identified as having a direct relationship with a manufacturer to distribute its goods and products within a specified territory or region. The goods and or products are not available or sold to the general public. Okay? So this is distributor. Now we're going to talk about a broker. Firms acting as a broker are not eligible for certification as an MBE or WBE. So a broker is a person or entity that fills orders by purchasing or receiving supplies from a third-party supplier rather than its own existing inventory and provides no substantial service other than acting as a conduit between his or her supplier and his or her customer is a broker. Okay? So if you're going to be a supplier, you have to have your own supplies to sell. So I can't say I'm going to open up Francisco Nunez Supply Industry and you come and make an order with me, then I call Amazon and I say, Amazon, send this to customer A. That's a broker. I will not be certified. And a lot of people try to get certified doing this. It is not going to happen. Okay? Okay, so before I get into this, I said there was other industries that needed a little bit more, and amongst those industries is construction. When it comes to construction, we are going to require a few more years of financial information from both the owner and the corporation, as well as we're going to require personal net worth statements for the owners. Make sure that they fall under 2.32 million net worth. If you're above that, you do not qualify for the program either. This is for construction only, okay? 2.32, okay? Okay, now after the application is submitted, the process can take approximately 60 to 90 days from the day we receive all documents. So remember earlier when I said make sure you submit all documents. It's very important because if your application is next and I'm reviewing it and I figure out that, oh man, we're still missing 3 years of tax returns, I'm going to send you what's called a request for information. I'm going to give you about 15 days to respond. But once you respond with that information, the 60 and 90 days technically starts all over again. So this is for your own benefit that the application is as complete as possible. Obviously, if you're responding right away, I send you an RFI and the next day I come to work and there everything is, obviously it's going to help you as well. So maybe it won't take another 60 to 90 days, but it can very well that can very well happen. Now your application is checked to make sure we have all documents. Documents are thoroughly audited. So sometimes what happens is sometimes we're like, oh well, you know what, my tax returns are 60 pages long. They don't need all this information. We're going to just send the first 20 pages. We're going to know that, and we're going to request all 60 pages. So just submit them completed. Tax returns, make sure they're all signed, or you provide the documents showing that you e-filed, that you electronically filed. That'll work as well. Depending on the industry, you may receive a site visit. And sometimes in special circumstances, we will do a site visit regardless of the industry. But the industries that you are guaranteed to receive a site visit are any construction companies, any suppliers, trucking firms. So you will have a site visit for any of those. If approved, your certification is valid for 5 years. So you will receive a letter saying you are certified with the City of Chicago for the next 5 years. Now, does that mean that you don't do anything else? No. It's very important that every year you file a no-change affidavit. The no-change affidavit will inform us that everything in your company is still the same as when you were certified. Now, if there's any type of changes, you do have a duty to report it within the 10 calendar days after it happened. So, for example, if I own the company 100%, but you know what, I need capital, so I'm going to get my buddy to buy 30% of the firm, my friend I have to report that to the city saying, hey, my friend just bought 30%, so I'm 70% owner and he's 30% owner. Okay, this is important because if you don't report those types of things, you are subject to lose your certification. Okay. And then, okay, so there is what we call an expedited process. This is called recognition of outside certification. Expedited, I'm not sure if it's the correct word, because they still take 60 to 90 days. The only difference is that we require less documents. So if you're certified with the Women's Business Development Center or the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, if you're certified through them, you can go through what's called an outside application. Now, just so you know, if you're certified with the Women's Business Development Center, the outside application only applies for the women-owned business enterprise portion of your application. If you apply with the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, that would only apply to the minority part of your application. The other part, depending on what you're applying for, would have to go through a regular application if you qualify for both. So again, like I said, maintaining your certification is very important that every year you submit the no-change affidavits, okay? And again, within 10 business days of the change, you must let us know of anything that changes with your company. And then all vendors must resubmit a recertification every 5 years. The recertification is very similar to the original application, so it will require a lot of documentation as well. So say, for instance, I started my company as a plumbing company, but all of a sudden, I realized that I'm getting a lot of concrete work. I'm getting a lot of excavation work. I want to now get certified in those fields. That is acceptable as well. So if you're certified with a certain amount of codes and you want to add to the codes, you can submit what's called an expansion request. So if you're going to submit an expansion request, feel free to call the office and we'll send you a checklist of everything that needs to be done. But main thing, you have to submit a request on your company letterhead and include all of the codes that you want to add, and as well as any current contracts that you have already done or that you're working on, any past contracts that you have done. So this is going to help us prove, you're going to be proving to us, look, I'm already doing this, now I want to be certified. If it requires licenses, we need the licenses. If it requires special insurance or bonding, we're going to need that as well. So we're talking about our sister agencies that take all of our certification. Chicago Public Schools, Cook County. So if anyone here is certified with Cook County, there is no reason to certify with the city, because we accept Cook County certification and Cook County accepts our certification. So it's either you're certified with Cook County or with the city of Chicago. Chicago Park District, Public Buildings Commission, Chicago Housing Authority, CTA, City Colleges, Metropolitan Pier Exhibition Authority, Water Reclamation District. So all of these agencies accept our certification, okay? Top 10 reasons why an application is denied. Unsubstantiated or questionable ownership and control. You have not been able to prove that you indeed own the company. Okay? Unclear description of critical function and who is responsible. Have you been able to prove that you are responsible for this company and that you can actually do the work that you're saying you can do? The company cannot substantiate where startup funds expansion capital came from. So this is very important. If you're starting a company, it's very important that you are able to track and show, look, I started the company because I took out $30,000 from my savings account. This is how I bought the excavator or whatever. Well, if they're that cheap, I doubt it. But that's pretty much the purpose of this. Because, I mean, if you're able to prove that you used your own funds to start the company, I mean, there's really no question about it, okay? Outside secondary employment takes majority of the time. Big reason why people get denied. So we understand that everybody has to eat, right? But if I have a construction company, but then I work for a different construction company full time, and I make $120,000 for that other construction company, am I really running my business? No, because someone is paying me $120,000 a year to run their business, right? So this is very important. Now, for instance, there is some instances where it is acceptable. So just to give you a very brief one is, I start a consulting firm. I'm a general management consultant, but during the day, I work as a marketing developer. But you know what? All my appointments, I do after work hours. I meet with my clients at 5, 6, 7 p.m. Understandable, because it's normal industry practice. It happens, okay? The company is not located within the 6-county region, which that's pretty self-explanatory. Point of contact did not respond to a request for information in a timely manner. So remember, if your application is not complete, I'm going to send you a request for information, and you have a certain amount of time to respond, and you haven't responded. We're not going to wait for a long time. Eventually, we have to move on and close the file. So that's how you will be denied. Inconsistencies with the applicant's firm among various documents. So, for instance, my company's Francisco Nunez Incorporated, but then I'm giving you documents that say Francisco R. Nunez LLC. It's like, wait, hold on, these are two different entities. Be sure that everything's consistent, okay? Problems with contracts, missing, incomplete, not signed, or executed by qualifying owners, or have no corresponding proof of payments. So you send me a contract. You send me 3 contracts, and all of them are being signed by Joe Smith. I'm like, well, who's Joe Smith? Oh, yeah. You have to be able to prove who's signing these contracts, who has control of your company, and not just that. If you're providing contracts, be prepared to show us proof of payment. Be prepared to show us that the company that you did these services for actually paid you. Okay. Required documents are not attached, or no explanation is given on why documents are not attached. Sometimes there is going to be some required documentation that we're going to need from you. So for instance, for a firm, we need 3 years of corporate tax returns. But say your company's only been in business for 1. You provided that 1-year tax returns, and you write a statement saying, our company was incorporated in 2013, therefore I only have 1 year's tax returns. Understandable, okay? Okay, make sure that you sign all of your tax returns. That's very important, because that's just telling us that you're taking responsibility for everything all of these financial documents say, okay? Okay, I know it's a lot of information, and 45 minutes is not nearly enough time to cover everything. We understand that. So how can you get information regarding all of this? You can always come visit us at the Department of Procurement Services, or you can give us a call at 312-744-4900. It will give you 3 sections. One of them is going to be certification, and that's the one you want to dial for us. That would be 1. We answer the phone. Just put it that way. We answer the phone, and if, for instance, if the phone comes to me and for some reason I'm not able to answer, it'll move to the next officer. So someone will answer and help you out, okay? It's probably better than having to take a trip downtown to get 2 questions answered, okay? And then once you do apply, you will be assigned to a certification officer who will then give you their direct information, okay? And you can talk to them personally, because they're the ones that are going to be able to give you real live or up-to-date details on your application status, okay? But before we leave, also, I'm going to give you Yeno's phone number, and he will take care of you personally on any questions you have. All right, so now we're ready for questions. Who's first? All right. You second. Go ahead.
You mentioned about operating like at home. Now, say for instance, you do commercial business. Is it still okay to operate from a home?
Commercial business like what?
Commercial contracts, like landscaping contracts.
Okay, so her question is, she does commercial business. Is it still okay to have a home office? So it is, as long as you have somewhere to store all of your equipment. I mean, so for instance, I've gone to somebody that's certified as an HVAC contractor. So, and they operate from home, but their garage is their storage for all their tools, all of their equipment, all of their supplies. And so that's acceptable. Now, if I owned an excavating company and I have a backhoe, I mean, unless I own acres of land, it would be pretty difficult to use my home as a home office.
Do you all operate under the same rules and regulations with the business affairs office to get your business license? Do you pretty much have the same?
The question is, are we consistent with the rules and regulations that the business office has? I will have to take your information and answer that later, because I don't know what their rules are, and I don't want to answer the question without really knowing.
And my question is about DBE. You as assist of a person getting DBE statuses, the city don't honor DBE, or just the county and the state?
Okay, so the question is regarding DBE certification. Does the city honor DBE certification? DBE certification is completely separate from any of our other certification. Yeah, it's a federal program that is regulated by the federal government. DBE is only used on some contracts. It all depends on who's paying for the job. So sometimes there will be DBE standards. So for instance, I'll give you an example.
Let me give you an example.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a concrete contractor I'm superintendent from Appreciation Corporation Concrete Company, and the owner is looking for a woman, certification, which is one who owns it, Candaceburg. And the thing about it is that in order for a person to utilize the certification, you got to have basically two. When you go into prime contractors, if you want to try and get you some work from them, they want the status, whether it's minority or WEE or, they need those because they have to have, not only for set aside, they have to have a certain quota.
Right.
They have to have a quota.
Right. Okay, so this is a perfect example on the luxuries and the benefits of being certified. The question is, the gentleman in the back works for a company that is DBE certified, is owned by a woman. So his boss is now going to apply for WBE, Women-Owned Business Enterprise, because all of the prime contractors in the city require her to have it so they can use for contractual goals. The city of Chicago and anything that's funded by city dollars will require M and W, minority and women-owned participation. So you do have to have a women or minority-owned certification to meet the goals of any of these contract goals for procurement not procurement but for certification and for compliance reasons. So, but yes. So to answer your question, yes, it is important to have both of them, because some of our contracts will require DBE participation, and others will require M or W. And I'll give you just a quick example. If there's something that's going to happen in the airport, for instance, the airport is going to have Department of Transportation money, right? Therefore, we are going to require DBE participation instead of M or W. Does that answer the question? Yes. So when
the only point I was making was this: he said that in his list that he showed, I didn't see DBE.
Right. So yeah. Right. No. It was in the beginning. It was in the beginning.
Oh.
You missed it in the beginning. Yeah. Okay. The question is it common for a single company or two companies by the same owner have two certifications?
One company to be certified in multiple services.
Okay. So is it normal for one company to be certified in multiple codes? Yes. So if your company does a various different types of work, yes, you can be certified in all those types of works. Now, if you have two different companies and you want to be certified in both companies, the first question that a certification officer is going to ask themselves is, well, why does company A not do the same thing that company B is doing? How is it that the owner is running two full-time companies at the same time? So to answer your question, yes, it is normal to have multiple codes. It's one certification, but multiple codes. And it is also normal for instance, there's companies out there that are certified through the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, DBE, ACDBE, through other programs in other areas. So it is important to, it is normal to have multiple certifications with different agencies, as well as be certified with different codes in different industries for same certification. Okay.
I have a question about shareholders. If you're an owner and you own 100% of your company, but you have taken on a shareholder who's just bringing in 10% or whatever, does that person now own, or is he just giving you funds, and do you need money? Do you need information from that shareholder?
So the question is, if you own a corporation and you're 100% owner, but then you sell about 10% of your stock to someone else, and for the purpose of certification, they are 10% owner of your company now. Okay, and we, for the most part, we will look at it and we will see what the purpose of this sale was. But as long as you're able to explain and tell us why and it fits the guidelines, there shouldn't be a problem. Now the only thing is, after a certain amount, after a certain percentage, depending on the type of industry you're in, we will require all of the information of that other stakeholder / owner.
Is it possible that a non-for-profit and a for-profit can be under both minorities and merging?
Is it possible for a non-for-profit and for-profit to be certified as a minority-owned business? Unfortunately, non-for-profits are not certifiable with the City of Chicago. So you have to be a for-profit organization to be certified as a minority-owned, women-owned business. Now, a BEPD, a business enterprise for people managed by people with disability, that can be certified if you are a non-for-profit. Okay?
If you have a company and you change the name of it because you took on a partner, are you then required to apply for a new certificate? Do you shut the old certificate down?
Okay, the question is, if you have a certified company that changes name because you're bringing in a partner. This happens all the time. The question is, for the most part, no. What you would do is you would submit the change in ownership and the change in name. And again, during this process, you will explain on why you did it. 90% of the times that we see this type of information, so for instance, I go from a sole proprietor to an LLC. 90% of the time is because the company needs to raise capital, raise money, bring in someone to take on credit, things like that. So that's very understandable, and it's a normal business practice. You will not lose your certification. You will not have to recertify. All you have to do is report the material change, and if it falls within guidelines, you could keep it. We update our records showing that you are now known as a different name, and you're good to go after that.
One thing I would say is that anytime you're bringing in a new, whether it's a partner, investor, even if they're an investor that doesn't necessarily, as in your case, where they're not necessarily taking ownership, anytime you're bringing new individuals in, the department and the certification officer, they always have kind of the ability to, I don't want to say investigate, but at least to kind of dig into whether or not this new person or this new entity can affect whether the firm can remain certified. So be prepared always to kind of show any kind of documentation as to who this person is, and if they're taking enough of a role, like Francisco said, they're going to be required to submit some financial documentation, probably personal tax returns,
Right.
or maybe even like a personal net worth statement, because we always want to look at how any kind of change, whether it's a name change or new partners, can affect whether or not this company can remain certified.
Right. Just for the people watching from home, what Mr. Biru, who's also a certification officer, was saying is, anytime there's any change in ownership or any investors, anyone that takes financial, that contributes financially to the company, it always needs to be documented and presented back to us. So that way we can dig into it just to make sure that you still fall within the guidelines of the program. So the question is, what would I recommend? Should I go with Cook County or with the City of Chicago for certification? Since both of us accept each other's certification, on that I can't give you an opinion on that. That's something that you need to decide. What I would do is I would figure out what the county's process is, and then that way you can figure out which one's more convenient for you. Because at the end of the day, both certifications are going to do the same thing, as long as you utilize them properly. ACDBE. Okay, so the question is, if I want to apply for certification as an ACDBE, do I need to be certified as anything else before that? No. If you want to be certified only as an ACDBE, you can do that. You do not need to be certified with one to qualify for the other at all.
I remember you said that you have to be somewhat established in order to get certified. So when you say established, like, okay, so for instance, this is my first year running this business, and I don't really have that much income coming in. I don't have that much proof. I don't have tax returns. I don't have this stuff. But I do have a license. I do have insurance, equipment, that type of thing.
So the question is, can you be certified? Earlier I mentioned that you have to be somewhat established in order to apply for certification. And she gave an example of having some equipment, licenses, insurance. Is that sufficient? So when I meant you have to be established with the state of Illinois, what I meant is you just have to be viewed as an entity, as a company. So technically, I can go to the state and file my articles of incorporation today, and tomorrow I can apply for certification. Even though I have absolutely nothing, as long as I can prove that I can do the work that I'm applying to be certified in, that's what matters. We understand, I have reviewed files where they have zero tax returns, zero income, but they demonstrate that they have the expertise to do the work, and now they're just waiting to launch their business. I have time for one more during this, but after this is shut down, we will stick around and we will answer all the questions. Okay, one more question? Go ahead.
Is there any unbiased statistical information about y'all's program or about any of the certification?
Is there any?
How it's utilized?
Is there any statistics on how our certifications are utilized? Not that I know of, but what we'll do is I'll get your information after this, and we'll have somebody contact you if there is such reports or anything like that. So it is 2:58. The broadcast is about to end. I want to thank everybody for attending here. I want to thank anybody that's viewing us from home. On behalf of the City of Chicago Department of Procurement Services, we appreciate your time, and we hope to be of your service in the near future.